I have put in the chat a link to the slideshow for today. There are a few links to resources in there that you might want access to, and then also just some screenshots. I will probably toggle between my slideshow and Schoology as we're going through this. So I know we just have a few in here, and our and one that just left or maybe got kicked out, and my Tim specialist. So if you will let me know in the chat, or you can unmute your mic, either way. Is your school currently using Schoology? Yes or no? Oh, looks like somebody's keeps trying to get in and keeps getting kicked out of the Zoom. I hate that. Is your school currently using Schoology this year? Yes or no? Those of you that are in here. Oh, yes and no. That's always the answer I love. Okay, we have a few who do. So I mentioned that I'm originally from Mississippi, and my sister-in-law, who is in the Lowndes County School District, which is right there on the state line in Mississippi, they have actually been using Schoology for, I think, 4 years. So when I first started learning this, I went to her and she kind of showed me, as a high school math teacher, how she sets up her classes, and she loves it, and they use it every day. And their students, it's 1-to-1. So she's been a big fan of it. So anything that I have had a question about, I've gone to her and asked, because she's like using it in real time. So so this is the reason why I offered Schoology for beginners, because I feel like that there are some schools in your same situation. We have some people using it. We've been told we're going to use it. The schools that are already using it and have been since August are mainly just, hey, I have an occasional question. But I definitely want to help you guys out if you're brand new to it. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Oh, bless your heart. You started in Schoology and switched. Nothing like a good switcheroo. Just like Robert just said a second ago, this too shall pass. I do feel like in the education world, we say that a lot. Like we learned something new and they were like, oh, that lasted a hot second. So now we got to learn something else. All right, this has got my contact information on it. If you do Twitter, that's on there as well. My email is on there. I do want to take a minute. I have some of my ATEM colleagues in here, and you may be in a district that they serve. So we'll just start off, and Robert, if you'll start us off and introduce yourself, and then Carol, and then Vanessa, if she's still there.
Yes, I'm Robert Maben. My screen is over here, and my camera's over here. So but I am at the University of Alabama, University of West Alabama region. That is Region 4, and I serve. Most of my region touches Mississippi. So, but yeah, that's me, and roll tide.
Carol Foster from Auburn University, Region 9, War Eagle.
Vanessa Webster from Alabama State University, Region 8, Go Hornets.
Right, we're all represented here. So anyway, these are just some of my colleagues that sit in on our sessions sometimes. If you have a question, I may miss it as I'm going through and talking very loudly, as I said a little while ago. But sometimes you do feel like like you're drowning, and hopefully we can help. If there's ever a question that I can't answer, I'm usually calling one of these folks and saying, hey, do you know how to answer this? So there's our whole team. We're down a few. We've actually had some retirees, so we're going to have to take another picture this summer. But this is our website too. And so a lot of times when we do these recordings, there's a link on the website. So if you know someone that might benefit from this, they can watch this back. But we talk more than just Schoology. We will be talking Power School very soon. We help with Google Classroom, Microsoft, and a whole flurry of other topics. So in the slideshow, I do have a linked table of contents right here. so that if you want to go specifically to a slide in the slideshow, you can access it. Now, just to mention, this is in Google Slides. And so I'm not really sure if your school is a Google school, but if you have a Google account and you're signed in, you can go to File and you can make a copy and have your own copy of the presentation. And if you were going to be the person to turn around this information to your school or your colleagues, you are welcome to use some of this content and make it your own. All right, so we're going to start out just talking about the navigation of the Schoology platform. There's this homepage that you're going to land on. It's going to have this toolbar across the top. And depending on your settings, you may see recent activity or a course dashboard. And then over here on the right, you will see overdue, reminders, and upcoming. Now, I like to bring out that as we started training in Schoology, we heard from multiple teachers that some of the students never actually clicked into their courses. They look over here to find what are the latest assignments due, and they clicked straight to the assignment. So keep that in mind when you are working with your students, and I'm not sure what age students you'll be working with, but direct them to go to your course so that they can go through the content pieces before they just jump on an assignment. I know you've never heard of kids doing that. Just skip right to the questions in the back of the book. Don't read anything. So that's what's happening with this section over here. So be sure that you navigate them to the course and then their assignments. There's a toolbar across the top. Whatever icon you have here, it may be your school district's icon, it may be the Schoology icon. You can click there, it takes you back to this main page. And this course dashboard lets you see any courses that you teach or you participate in. Now, if you see this little gold shield, that means you're designated as an admin or a teacher in the course. You can have multiple teachers in a course. Not shown here, recent activity, and that's where there's updates and messages from the group. If you're wanting to see the last few things that were turned in, or if someone has sent you a message, it lives there. And so speaking of messages, we're going to move on and we're going to talk about communication. Now, before I go to this next slide, let me go ahead and open up Schoology for me. So I've already logged into Schoology, and you can see there's my course dashboard. All my courses are listed here. But I wanted to mention that, you know, across the top, that's all the stuff I'm about to be talking about. And here are the messages that we're going to talk about in communications. But I just wanted you to see, notice on the teacher end, I have reminders. Look at all those ungraded assignments. I better get to grading. On the student end, you may see, they would see upcoming or due, and that's where they would click, because you can click on all of these. All right, keep in mind this hour will go fast. So if you want me to stop or you have a specific question, feel free to unmute your mic and just stop me or put something in the chat. All right, so I mentioned messages. So across the top there, you have the little envelope for messages. This is where you can send and receive direct messages with anyone in your organization. And this is not really meant for a whole class. This is mostly direct. But when you go into a course, and this menu that's here is actually in a course, you have a send message option. This lets you select one person in the class or all members of the class. So this is the better way to communicate with your entire class, and not necessarily this one on the toolbar. So one of the most important things to understand when it comes to Schoology is the difference in courses and groups. So I know it sounds pretty simple. The vocabulary itself does. Courses are courses that their students are going to take. It's for assignments, materials, and grades. Announcements and calendars live here too. So that's a course. And your courses dashboard, if you click the word courses up across the top, it will show you your dashboard, but then also that's the only place you can find this up in the top right corner underneath your name. where it says My Courses. So if you are going to join a course, and so as you're learning Schoology, we have found that one of the most helpful things is for you to create a sandbox or a dummy course. And once you've created that, have a colleague join it as a student and practice assigning things and having them turned in, and that workflow process. It's really the best way to understand Schoology. And I know we just had somebody come in. If one of my ATM folks could recopy that link to the slideshow, he'll have access to that. So that's courses, and you can click the word courses and see all your courses, or you can join a course there or create a course from there. Groups are for communication. And so if you're going to communicate and collaborate with colleagues outside of your classroom, this is what you're going to want. You're going to want groups. And so courses are here at the top, groups right beside it. If I click groups, then I'm going to have access to any group that I have created. It could be a student group, but most likely you're going to use groups for your own professional learning network. Most of the time that means, I think Haley said she was a librarian. Multiple librarians across your district could have a group where they're going to share resources. All the second grade teachers, all the English teachers, all the reading teachers. This is a great way for you all to have a group, and within that group, share quizzes, content, slideshows, whatever you want to share is there for each person in the group to be able to then copy into their courses in Schoology. So groups, a great way to share resources. And then resources feed into courses and groups. So across the top there, you have courses, groups, and resources. When you click resources, this is your own filing cabinet. So it's going to start out with home, which is your personal filing cabinet, and you can add whatever you want here. If you want something that can be shared with your group, you can add it down here in group resources. So notice down here at the bottom, I have group. So that is where I can add content to share with my groups. And then if you are familiar with the school's PLP content by the State Department, in most cases, it is in your group resources. Under course content, it may be named your school name if you're using that. I do know that they're adding more and more to these group resources from the State Department, like proficiency scales. And I'm hearing rumors, and my colleagues may or may not know more about this than I do. I'm hearing rumors that ARI is actually loading a lot of resources for the Literacy Act. Has anybody heard anything about that in Schoology? Well, I'm going to guess no. So I do know that that's one thing that I heard from my own children's school district who are currently not using Schoology, that part of their motivation for getting all their teachers on Schoology was the fact that the state would be pushing resources out into these resources sections. And then below personal public group, you have apps. Now this allows you to connect apps that you're currently using with your Schoology account. This is very handy if you're a Google Drive school, if you're a Microsoft or OneDrive school, if you allow students any access at all to YouTube or Vimeo. Evernote, I'm a big fan of that as a note-taking application, and then Dropbox, another place to store things. You can connect these resources and pull from them very easily. All right, so we are down to the part of creating a course. Now, a lot of times you're going to open up Schoology and you're going to see your what we call course shells already loaded. So what is currently I now would probably push out your schedule. And so I taught high school English, so I might have English 9 first period, English 9 second period, English 9 third period, English 10 fifth period. You know, I have all those listed with nothing in them. So a lot of times people are wondering why I teach creating a course. Well, the reason why I do that is because I advise people to create a course template, make a course, organize it, get it just like you like it. Once you've done that, you can copy that whole course into your personal resources filing cabinet. And then in those course shells, you can load all those folders and it's done much faster. So even if you don't have all the content loaded in the folders, just having the folder organization set up and quick copied into a course is a huge time saver. So this is my hot tip: create a course template that you can add to your resources. So the way you would create a course, remember we talked about courses up here, you're going to click that. And then over on the right, it said My Courses. Once you click My Courses, you're going to see a list of your courses, as well as these two blue buttons. It's the only place you'll find them. And you would go to join a course if you're joining, or create a course. So if I click courses, there it is. It's way over here. And I really wish that it was more prominent, but that's where it is. So I'm going to click My Courses. So once I click My Courses, I'm going to see these two buttons. If I click Join a Course, it's going to prompt me for an access code, and I'll show you where to find the access code. And this is where I said, if you're learning this, have a colleague join your course as a student, give them the access code, and then practice in that dummy or that sandbox course. The other option here is create a course. And so it's just going to open up this window and ask you to fill out this information. And what is very important is your grading period. So this grading period has to be set up above you, I believe, at the district level. We have a grading period called Sandbox that goes to 2029. That's a long time. But I'm just telling you that you have to pay attention here, because if the grading period is set up as some point in the future, starting at some point in the future, you can do all you want and you're not going to see any of that stuff, and nobody can be a part of that course. So keep in mind the grading period is important, and hopefully that is something that would be pushed out from your school district. All right, so all of that is where we are here with creating a course. So once you have created a course, you're going to see a course menu on the left. Now, I have a lot of courses, a whole lot of courses. Let me just grab one that is more of a kind of blank slate. So this one, not really a blank slate, but it looks very similar to what you would see. You would start a course, you would have nothing here. I've already copied some things here, but this is the menu that I'm referencing on the slideshow. So I am actually in one of the courses that I've created. And so you're going to see underneath the picture on your course, a course options drop down. And if you click on that, you'll have options like edit info, settings, send message. This allows you to send message to the whole class, but this also allows you to edit, like the name of the course, the settings of the course. But what you're going to use the most are going to be these items right here. It defaults to course materials page. So the reason why I know this is the page we're on is because that icon is colored. The other ones are grayed out. As I click down this menu, each of those would light up or color up, and then this one would be grayed out. So materials is you're going to spend the most time. This is where you're going to load your materials for your course. Underneath that is updates or announcements. So if you want to make an announcement to your class, that's where you'll do it. Next is gradebook. This is where you'll see your grades. I honestly have not messed with grade setup, and that's going to be something I believe if it's going to be syncing with your school information system. Mastery has to do with if you assign a standard to an assignment. Honestly, so many people have been in survival mode with Schoology. We haven't done a lot with mastery. I foresee that being a big topic for us in the coming year because people are going to be interested in assigning a standard to an assignment or to a quiz or test. And so this is where you would start seeing whether a student has mastered a particular standard. Badges, you can make them, you can give them out. Attendance, I don't think anybody's keeping attendance on Schoology. What is attendance this year, right? It's kind of crazy. Members, you can click there and see all the people that are members of your class, and you can add students and co-teachers there if you need to. Analytics, if I'm being really honest, analytics has been inconsistent this year. Ideally, analytics would tell you how much time a student has spent on the platform, how much time they've spent working, looking at content. I've not heard anybody say like they can bank on that information. So I'll just leave that there. And then workload planning, that is something when your whole school starts using Schoology to look at how much coursework is being given in different subject areas. All right, so here is my course. And I just highlighted that if I had members open, here are all the members of my course. And if I want to add members, I can add members. If I want to take a current member and make them a co-teacher, I can click on the gear out beside their name. And once I do, I'm going to get this. I have the option to send them a message, preview the course as that person, change their password, or make admin, and that makes them a co-teacher. So this is pretty handy if you have an EL teacher, a special ed teacher. The librarian could be made a co-teacher in classes, particularly reading or English classes, so that she could get a view into what the assignments are. Even add resources. I think that that would be a great use of that co-teacher feature. All right, the next item down there is updates. And this is where you can make announcements. This is a really handy feature. And if you want that announcement to be at the top of the course to get their attention, not only do you need to put text in the text box, but you will have a little drop down before you post where you check this bell. And that allows this to become an announcement at the top of the class. So just to show you that, if I go here to updates, and I'm going to make an announcement, don't forget your book today. If I want that to be an announcement, it is going to need a check right there on the bell, and I click post. And then if I go back to my course, and sorry, I went out of my course. That was not good. And I have so many courses. I've got to go to my list of courses. There it is. And so my announcement is right here at the top. Don't forget your book today. Now you can get really fancy with the announcement feature, and there are plenty of YouTube videos on how to do this. And you can add like all kinds of banners and lots of fun stuff. I've learned quickly that if I add all the fun stuff like this, nobody wants to listen to anything else, but you can do that. And it's actually done through that updates or announcement piece. So just letting you know that you have the ability to do some really neat things in Schoology if you want to put the work in, but ideally you're beginners. So we want to just kind of get through the basic stuff like setting this up. So one area you're going to spend the most time in is in materials. So when I click on materials and I choose add materials on the page, I have all of these options. This is probably what I would say I like best about Schoology. It's very accepting of pretty much anything that you want to put out there for your students. So the first thing is adding folders so you can get things organized for yourself and for your students. You can add assignments. That means it's something that you're going to grade. Now, there is such thing as an ungraded assignment, but typically we're going to grade them. You can add tests and quizzes. I believe this is going away, and assessments is going to be their main test tool. This is very rich, and I foresee us doing a lot more training on the assessment piece. It's great, but it will take a little bit of time to learn. This one people use a ton: files, links, and external tools. This is where you can easily put a PDF, a link to something, a Word document, whatever. You can add it there and just stack them on top of each other. You can add a discussion board. This is very handy. I like this feature. You can add a page. We're going to talk about that. That's very media heavy. You can make it look kind of however you want, which is very visually appealing. You can add a media album, which is like an album of photos. Honestly, adding a package, we haven't done anything with that. I think that's mostly third-party things you would put in there. And then the other part, which I love, import from resources. And this is going to be one of your favorite things because you have put some great stuff in your filing cabinet, in your resources, and you can quickly import from there and drop it right on the materials page. So this is a great little graphic from my colleague Barry Wigington, and just kind of showing you when you click that add materials, here is how you can create a folder. And the cool thing about the folder options is they can be colorful. You can add what I call cover photos to those folders in that text box area. It's very easy to use. So here are some of the things you can do with the folder. You give it a title, you can choose a color, and then you can give a description of the folder. This is also where if I click this right here, this box with an arrow, I can add an image. And so having images and information, one teacher suggested like a checklist of things the student needed to do that week on the front of the folder. That is super handy. I've seen this feature done in a couple of ways. I've had teachers unpublish the folders until they're ready for the students to see them, and then they go back in and click publish. I have seen people use the publish on start date or during date range. Then I've seen people use the dates here. I don't think you need to use both, but I've had different, I'm gonna have to talk to some teachers who are using this on a consistent basis, because this is one thing some virtual teachers that I've talked to have really liked as far as deadlines were concerned, was the folder would just essentially cut off or not accept work anymore. This is another graphic by Barry that I really like, just showing you how effective the folder system can be and the way it's set up with colors. The organizational structure is probably one of the biggest decisions you'll make when it comes to how you'll set up your Schoology class. It needs to not only be something that makes sense to you, but easy for your students to navigate. So based on what age your students are, you may need simple titles. Some of you may be going chapter 1, chapter 2. Some may have unit names. So this is just an interesting graphic to show you how that can make the class better and more effective. Next up is pages. So just to show you on this materials page right here, I have a lot of examples. So I have a folder, there's a color folder, there's a week 1, week 2. And if I click on that one, I even have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Notice I put folder cover photos on there. And if I click the name or if I click the photo, it still takes me into the folder. And so I think that that is super handy to be able to do those kind of cover photos. So if I'm going to add something else like a media page, I would click add page at the top. Now, this is a trick that I actually found out from another teacher who was using this. What you'll find is if you add something, and I'm just going to do add file here. If I add a file that lives on my computer, I'm just going to grab, here's my COVID vaccine form. Let's just throw that in there for fun. I'll be getting that vaccine tomorrow. And if any of you have had an opportunity to do that. So anyway, if I add just a file, it goes all the way to the bottom. Boo on that. Now I can drag it. It is kind of a hot mess to do, but you can drag it. So you can do that and reorganize things. But here's a hot tip I got from a teacher. Look at this. When I move my cursor over, there's a little dotted line that pops up. If I click that dotted line, ta-da, I get all those options and it's going to put it right where I want it. That's a great tip that I didn't know when I first started training on Schoology. So I'm going to do add a page right here. So the cool thing about Page is that they're very media rich and they are something that's going to be visual for your students. So I'm going to call this awesome page of info. And all the text boxes are going to look the same. Hey, students, this is our class page. And I can go in here and manipulate this text, give it some color, make it bold. I do have some heading options there to really increase the look and the feel of that. I think Carol had recommended a site called Text Giraffe one time. That is a really cool site. I like using it and downloading these fancy fonts, and I can put those here. So anything that makes it more visual. So I can do that. I can change the alignment. I can add a link right here. So if I do link, I can give it some text, news, and I can go here and do CNN.com and insert. So notice it's going to use my text and make that a link. I've got the ability to have a table, which is a great organizing feature. And then if I click here, look at all of the options. This is your insert content button. You're going to see that in a variety of places. You can add pictures, links, symbols, equations for my math people, Google Drive or OneDrive resources, a YouTube video, Dropbox, Evernote, Vimeo, tons of great stuff. So if I wanted to add a YouTube video here, let's say I don't know what video I want to use, but I'm going to look up a video called Schoology 101. Let's see. So here is looks like there's a lot of Schoology 101s. So let's just do this one, new to Schoology. So I'm going to click that one. And I have an option over here, import as embed. And I think that is the way I want to do it. So that means I'm going to embed that video right there into the page. Now, if you click on this, because you're like, I don't see a video, I just see a yellow square. If you click on it and you click on this picture item here, it gives you a preview of the video, talks about the size of the video. So if you wanted to change the dimensions and make it smaller, you could. And then there are some other features here as well. But on any picture and video, if I click on it, it gives me those handy dandy draggable corners. So I can just drop a video simply by choosing YouTube and searching the video. I can also add any of these other things like a picture or something from Google Drive. So I'm just going to show you what it looks like if I go from the Google Drive resource app. So it is thinking really hard right now. There we go. So notice it grabbed my Google Drive. These are all the items currently in my Google Drive. And so if I wanted to go ahead and drop something in there, let's see, let me grab something like, not my, let's see, notice I've got like a ton of junk in here, right? Yard sale, there we go. Let's put a yard sale item in there. I think that's a Word document about my yard sale. So I'm going to check that, and I have the option to import the link, a private link, which you wouldn't want because you want access there, or import embed, either of those options. Let's just see what import embed looks like. It's another one of these yellow squares. All right, so here are some items we've put in there. And then at the bottom, not to neglect these little tools, you can add a file that is going to live underneath your page. You can also add a hyperlink, something from resources, and then this is a handy dandy tool a lot of teachers are using on audio or video recording. Now I can't do it now because I'm in a Zoom session and it takes us into some weird rabbit hole, but I can make an audio and video recording right here and attach it to my page for my students. Really cool. All right, last thing I'm going to tell you about pages is down here at the bottom, I am going to click this icon. Now, instead of clicking it, first I'm going to show you what it looks like when I don't click it. So I'm going to click create. And here it is. Here's the page. Nothing exciting. But if I click on the page, I can see, oh, look, there's the stuff for my yard sale. Ta-da. So there is my page, but that's not really what I wanted it to look like. So if I go here to my gear and I choose to edit that page, remember I said there's this little icon at the bottom you should click. Watch what it looks like when I say display inline. My page is right there in front of my students. This is the way that makes it most visually appealing. It's the way that most students, they're going to not want to click in there. So you can display it inline, or if you prefer that it's more compact, you can leave that unclicked. So when I'm talking about pages, this is what we're talking about. Notice this is a colleague, Barry. He made a little introduction about the Great Depression, put in a YouTube video there. You can insert things like Edpuzzle. If there is an embed code, you can pretty much choose embed or click from the web and embed something into that. So it's pretty cool. So you've given your students certain files, certain links, you've given them content, and now you're ready to grade them, because in all my years of teaching, the question I got the most was, how many points is this worth? Well, graded assignments, and this screen capture is really for your information as you go through to make your first graded assignment. You're going to need to notice all these little notations. So you give your assignment a name. You can give it some directions. Let me warn you here. When your student goes to submit their assignment, the window that pops up covers up the description. So word to the wise, if you are going to have lengthy instructions, put them directly on a handout that you want the students to use in submitting the assignment, or attach something that they have to open and read, because once they try to submit, all this is covered up. But notice you have that same text box with all these features. You can attach anything here that you want. And then you've also got Google Drive or OneDrive or Kami. If you have that, you have these tools that you can use in the assignment. You can give it a due date. It'll default to 100. You can change that. You have to give it a category. If you don't have any categories, you will make them here. You have to give it some kind of grading period. I don't ever mess with factor that may have something to do with the weighted grades, or numeric. I leave it as numeric. If you want to use a rubric, you have the ability to create rubrics right here. Once you've created a rubric in Schoology, it is there for you to use on any other assignment. And at the bottom, these buttons are important because you need to make sure it is accepting submissions. So if you want to go in there and create several graded assignments, but unclick this icon, it will not accept submissions until you've gone in and turned that on. The same thing you can do here is publish it. And then the last thing, you can copy that assignment to multiple courses. So I mentioned I taught high school English. I could simply say copy to multiple courses and check first period, second period, third period, and send it to all of them. One thing I'll warn you about when it comes to publishing and unpublishing, and this is a tip from my sister who uses Schoology. If you unpublish something, it unpublishes any graded items in the folder or in the assignment. So you do not want to unpublish this just to clean up your Schoology page, because then all the grades will go away. And that's not good. Oh, how good. Got a sneeze. Woo, sorry. I think that might have been my first sneeze on a Zoom session. Apologies. Woo. All right. So this is what it looks like on the teacher end. And this is what it looks like on the student end. So remember, I told you that when you give it a description, it's hidden. So when a student says submit assignment, this is what they're going to see. And now their directions are hidden. So that's one thing I would advise you about, is think about where the directions are going to live. So when a student clicks submit assignment, they're going to see upload, create, or resources. My advice before you ever assign anything to a student is work with another teacher and practice this workflow, and then do an example workflow with your students on something that doesn't penalize them. So tell them, we're going to practice an upload assignment. We're going to practice a create assignment. We're going to practice something from resources. So on upload, they have the option to upload from their computer, something they've already made, like in Word, or they can record an audio or video recording. So that's a really cool tool that they can submit straight to you. The other option is create. Student does not have to make any kind of Word document. They can simply click create and start typing. Once they do that and they hit submit, or they can save draft until they're ready and they can submit that to you. And then finally, they have their own personal filing cabinet too. So students can actually save things. So let's say that they're working at home. They can save something to their personal resources in Schoology. And then later on, when they're in class, they can pull that right up in the Schoology account and attach that to an assignment. So when it's all done and the student adds it, you're going to see this assignment submitted. Yay. On the teacher view, you're going to see needs grading. So that's what it looks like on both ends. And this is why I say it is so important for you to practice this workflow and see these steps. So here is what it looks like when I clicked this and I started to grade this assignment. It opened up kind of like a PDF, and on my iPad, I actually used the Schoology app and it let me write on this. I have comment features, kind of like reviewing tools in Word. I also have some personal comments, grading comments that I can send to the student. Can you revise this into a paragraph instead of a list? And then I can give a grade and then an additional comment right there. So lots of stuff that you can do in this grading piece. So I mentioned you can add pages, files, links, assessment. It can look like a hodgepodge. If you are using Schools PLP, it's going to look like this little two ruler piece. They are learning objects, and if you choose to use them and you want them to be interactive, there are a couple of steps here for that. And if you have further questions on this process, you can contact me. But this is key if you want anything in Schools PLP to actually be gradable for you. And on the student end, this is a school's PLP assignment, but they're going to see a submission button. And once they have that submission button open, they can type directly into it. And in the school's PLP platform within Schoology, you have a grader piece. It is not easy. It is actually very difficult. And when we first started training, none of us even knew you could do this. So this is just something with that platform that works inside of Schoology. All right, kind of getting close to the end here as far as the gradebook is concerned. Once you have assigned things to students and they have started turning them in, you'll start seeing the grades, the calculations, any of these different assignments. You can click on them and it'll take you straight to the assignment to view what the student has done. And then also, it's not shown here, but you can see if there's an attachment or a discussion comment in the little corner, there'll be an icon showing that. All right, here's the key that I told you about. I made this whole course. I got it like I like it. Now what do I do? So when you're done getting it all organized and you're ready to disperse it to all your other class periods, you're going to use the options button up here at the top on the materials page, and you're going to do save course to resources, and it's going to put it into one folder in your resources, personal resources filing cabinet. Then when you go to your course shell, like first period, and I'm ready to import all the good stuff, I'm going to go to import from resources, and notice this, do not just import the folder. You want to drill down into that folder and grab all the subfolders and then import them in. It is a time saver, but if you grab just the one folder, you're going to have one big fat folder, and that's it. So I have more good stuff on this slide. If you're interested, there are some shared videos, resources, the big whopping handout if you wanted something more than just the basics is here. I've got a bunch of Schoology themes, buttons, banners, anything that I found to be helpful, cool, and amazing when it comes to Schoology, you have access there. There's a YouTube playlist that I have out there showing you some helpful, well, not this one, but there is a, let's see, I need to change that link, I guess. Anyway, here it is. Schoology videos I found helpful. And so there's a whole playlist of them. And then if you would like to try out my how-to course as a student, you can go in there, try out the assignments, check out an assessment as a student, and then I'll clean that membership out periodically, but that is the access code for that course. All right, I have left myself like 4 minutes, I think, to answer questions. If you're still with me, and let me know if there's any other questions or thoughts that you have. Okay, go back to the access code. Sure. I can definitely do that. And my colleague Vanessa has put into the chat box the link to this slideshow, so you can actually access the slideshow. And I think I may have like closed out my whole slideshow. I was like flying through. There it is. Ta-da. All right, there's the class code there at the bottom if you want to take a picture of that. But like I said, you have access to this whole slideshow, and the access code is not going to change. You can go in there and check out that course if you would like. I will be using the Zoom registration list for my attendance today. And I've already noticed that Jennifer's email came through, so please let me know. Any other questions? I know this was super fast, and it really is like for beginners, but if we were true beginners and we were face-to-face, I would have gone a lot slower and let you guys do as I do. But hopefully this gives you an idea of everything. This recording will be available on the ATM website, and you'll have access to that. And hopefully that was helpful. Any other questions or thoughts? All right, I know that several people came in late. Be sure that you grab that link for the slideshow. Thank you to my ATM people who hung in here today. I appreciate your help and navigating the chat and everything. So it's lunchtime, so go grab some lunch. Get a cup of coffee to make it through the rest of your day. All right, thanks.
Great job, Brandy.
Thank you. Appreciate y'all being here. Bye.
Bye-bye.